I'm Christine, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm here to kick off the Romance Takeover Readathon. So I am so excited for this readathon. It is actually the weekend before, but I have set up my bingo board, which I will share here, which I'm going to probably just like read books that are on my TBR and see where they fit, because I know I'll probably hit most of these prompts anyways. I might do a TBR later tonight or tomorrow, which I will share the next time I do a video here. Which if I do that, I will share it here as well. But this is the spring edition of the Romance Takeover Readathon that Jen from the Book Refuge put together. I got to be a co-host for the summer edition last year, which we did it in, I think, August of 2022. It was so much fun. And so she asked to do another one for spring. I was definitely in. So basically, this is a time to just read all the romance that we're going to read anyways. We have fun prompts that Jen put together. So I'll share all the prompt little boards here that you can pick through. There's like page 1 and then a second page as well, which you can pick from there and like create your own bingo board. So it's going to be so much fun. Which the hosts for the readathon are, of course, Jen from the Book Refuge, myself, we have Tiffany from Tiff Talks Pages or Neverland Pixie on Instagram, as well as Rachel from Rachel Reads and Sings. I'm so excited to participate with all of them. Us hosts are also going to be doing reading sprints throughout the week, so I will share all the graphic and info here. I believe we have a reading sprint on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, with a live show to wrap up the whole readathon on Sunday on Jen's channel, which again, I'll share the graphic with the times and the info for that. Which of course, you're probably going to be seeing this after the fact, so I don't know why I'm sharing this, but if you're on Instagram, you have already seen this. So yeah, without further ado, I can't wait for this week of reading, the reading sprints, all of the things, and I will check in later. Hello, I am here to check in for the Romance Takeover Readathon. So let's see, I have some books to talk about because I have finished a couple books so far. All right, so the first book that I started for the readathon was In a Jam by Kate Canterbury. I have read a couple books from this author in the past, and this one I actually started on Sunday night. So the night before the readathon started, I was already like halfway through. So I was like, I'll just finish it and count it for my first read for the readathon because it did meet a couple prompts. So it met the prompt for audiobook. I was doing the audio. It met contemporary romance, small town romance, as well as a Bookstagram TikTok hyped book, because I know it was like all over Bookstagram when it came out. So I ended up giving this one 4 stars. I did really enjoy it. I did have a couple issues with it as far as like the pacing and the length of the book. I thought it was a little bit too long and did start to drag in the middle for me personally. But otherwise, it had so many things that I enjoyed and love, like certain tropes that are favorites. So this one has a grumpy sunshine, has a grumpy hero. It also has a pining hero. The hero has been into the heroine since high school. And then now, of course, they are older and in each other's lives again. And so he has always wanted her. She's like the one who got away that he never actually had. So I love that trope. Also has single dad hero, because the hero, he is the like parental guardian and legal guardian of his niece that he took in. So I loved seeing that. Loved how his niece plays a role in their story as well and kind of like brings the heroine back into his life. The heroine is also curvy, which I love seeing the rep of some curvy heroines who enjoy and embrace and love their curves, and the heroes love their curves as well. Love seeing that in romances. And then it is a marriage of convenience as well, which is one of my favorite tropes. I love it so much. And in contemporary romance, it doesn't always work for me as well as it does in like historical romances, but I do really love it. And so this one is set up with the heroine. So at the beginning of the book, she is at her wedding and her fiance like stands her up. He doesn't even show up to their wedding venue, and he actually like calls her and breaks up with her over the phone for their wedding and is like, yeah, I told my family and friends like not to even show up to the wedding today. Like I told them about it last night, but he doesn't call the heroine until the morning of to cancel when she's at the wedding venue, like in her dress. Her friends and family are there, like, ugh, like the worst. Which thankfully it is not a second chance romance. Like this guy, he's not it. So she has all of that going on, and the heroine is a teacher as well, and she's just kind of like feeling low. She moves in with her friend and she's like, ugh, like I'm just saddened by all of this. And then she ends up getting a letter from her step grandmother had passed away, who she was really close with. And she leaves the heroine her farm in Rhode Island, I want to say is where it's at. It's like a tulip farm in Rhode Island. And so to keep the farm though, the heroine has to go live there, work there at the farm, and also be married within a year from living there to keep the farm, instead of it going back into this like historical foundation or something like that in the town. And so she's like, ugh, like I'm not getting married anytime soon, but I will go there, kind of have like a gap year, a year off, get my head back on straight, like figure everything out. And so she decides to go there for like just a, you know, breath of fresh air, so to speak. So she goes there, and then her neighbor is the hero and his niece, who she sees and meets the niece first. And she like, you know, is like, hey, come to our farm, like come hang out, come look at the animals, like have dinner with us, like be my new best friend. Like it's just so cute. I loved the niece in this one. I think she's like 6 or 7. And then she sees the hero, and at first she doesn't recognize him, but he recognizes her like immediately because they had met back when she was in high school. She had stayed or lived with her grandparents who lived right next door to his family, like their neighboring farmlands. So he remembers her, and like they were friends in high school. Well, to her they were friends. In his mind, he was like pining for her ever since then. And so I love that happening in romances. Yeah, he recognizes her right away. And then after a bit, she's like, oh my God, like you are Noah? I think that's his name, Noah. Hopefully that's his name. But she's like, oh, like you're Noah, of course. Like she does end up recognizing him like that same night that they are hanging out. So they spend time together. There are so many fun times when they're together in this book, like farmers markets. The hero makes jam, hence the like raspberries on the cover, which I think this original cover is like so cute. I do have a special edition of it from Hello Lovely box. Okay, yeah. So this is the special edition that Hello Lovely did, which I do love it too. I love the font and the colors they use. It's just so bright and fun. But I do kind of love the original cover as well, with like the raspberries. So this one is signed, so fun. It has the little like Little Star Farms from Rhode Island, the hero's little jam making farm, and then the little mason jar, jam jar on the back is so cute. Like it is really cute. So glad I have this edition. Love how floppy it is. So yeah, I did have so many fun moments. I also love how, like I mentioned, the heroine is a teacher. So she decides to start helping the hero's niece as well. Like, so she finds out that the hero's niece has been kicked out of summer school and is possibly going to be held back. So she's like, I don't want to see that happen to her. And then his niece also has some like learning or behavioral things going on as well. And so she wants to like step in and help her. So her coming over to help her with like school over the summer, you know, puts her in the hero's orbit a lot. So they're like having dinner afterwards and hanging out. And yeah, like the little niece will just be like, hey, like you should come with us to the football game, or you should come with us to the farmer's market, or you should come with us to like the Saturday market. So there are so much fun times of them like being thrown together thanks to his niece. There's also a little bit of fake dating in here as well, because when the hero is at some of these like farmers markets, there's like women like blatantly trying to like, you know, throw themselves in front of him. And so the heroine will like step in, seeing he's uncomfortable, and, you know, pretend to be his wife or girlfriend or whatever the case. So that was a lot of fun. And then like the hero finds out about what the heroine has to do to like keep the farm. So he's like, I'll marry you. Like we can have a marriage of convenience. Like I could use your land and, you know, extend my plot of land, because he owns like all of the land up on this hill except for her family's land. So he's like, you know, I, you know, need the land. Like obviously that's why I would get married, like not because I'm secretly in love with you. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. And like I said, like I gave it 4 stars. The more I'm talking about it though, the more like I really did like it. Like it's definitely a high 4 stars, besides the like middle kind of dragging there for a bit for me and feeling like a little bit too long. Like once they get together and like are no longer faking it, or their marriage of convenience, like making it real, once that happens is when it kind of like started to get a little bit, the plot like took a backseat, it felt like, for me. So that was my issue with it. But otherwise, like I had a great time and loved it. And it was a great one to start the readathon with. And then the next book that I rolled into was The Duke's Secret Cinderella by Ava Devon. This is the newest book from this author, which just came out in February. So it met the prompt for new release as well as historical romance. This one, I'm obsessed with the pink cover. I love it so much. It actually wasn't on my radar at first, just because Cinderella stories, I've realized recently, aren't really my favorite. But like I heard that this one is Cinderella meets Ever After. And so I was like, ooh, I love Ever After though. So like, I'll check it out. Like I grabbed the audiobook for this one from Hoopla. So I ended up giving this one 3.5 stars. I think I rounded down to 3 stars though for Goodreads. Like it was fun. It was cute. It's definitely low angst. So if you're in the mood for like a lower angst historical romance, or like just kind of in the mood for a palate cleanser, like I definitely think this book would fit that for you. The hero in this one was super sweet. He definitely made the book. I loved his relationship that he has with his mom as well as his grandmother. So the hero is a duke and his mom is pushing him to get married and has like a list for him. And he's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, I don't want you to pick my bride. Like, I will find my own bride. Like, let me take your list and I will go meet with these ladies first. So along the way is when the hero actually meets the heroine, who the heroine is like our Cinderella type character of her mom had remarried. And so her mother passed away and now she's with her stepfather, who treats her as less than, treats her pretty much as a servant in his household. Like, she does have a good relationship with her stepsister, which I loved seeing that, but otherwise like she's treated as well as the servants in the household. So the heroine and the hero actually meet when the heroine is on her way to help out like another servant in their house. Like, she's going to pretty much like give him bail money or something, and she's going to help him out somehow. But she does end up getting her pocketbook stolen when she's on the road. And so the hero steps in and rescues her when that's happening. And she's like, you know, thank you for rescuing me. And like, now I need to go help somebody, but like, I don't have the money. So the hero is like, I'll help you out. Like, I will go pay and I will help you out. On their journey together to this is when they realize that they both have interest in social justice and trying to do the right thing. And so they kind of realize they have some things in common and they're both kind of intrigued by each other from there. They end up going their separate ways. And then later on is when the hero sees her again, when he comes to see her stepsister, who is on his like mom's list of like, you know, eligible women. And he sees the heroine there, and for whatever reason, the heroine decides to lie and say that she is also a lady and say that she is her stepsister's cousin instead of like sister. And she tells him that like this other guy, like this other lord, is her dad for whatever reason. So he is instantly like, well, I'm interested in you. Like, forget the stepsister. Like, she's great and all, but like, I'm interested in you. Like, we already met. So they kind of hit it off from there and start spending time together. And he's like super convinced like she's the one for him. I loved the conversations the hero has with his grandmother about like, you know, marrying for love and all of that instead of, you know, just for society's sake. So that was super sweet to see. I did have issues with this one because the heroine decides to like keep her lies for way longer in the book than I felt like was needed. I was just ready for her to like tell him, you know, like all these lies that she's telling to him, because it didn't really feel like he's already invested. So like, I don't feel like he would have cared as much, like with her holding it on for so long. Like, she could have told him sooner and he would have been okay with it because he was already like connecting and into you. Like he couldn't figure out why, you know, they're having this connection, but she would be so adamant to like not wanting to marry him because he's like, I'm a catch, like I'm a duke, we get along. Like, why aren't you wanting to jump into this like marriage with me? But yeah, I did have issues with that. And then like I mentioned, like Cinderella stories just aren't really my thing, I have realized recently. So I do kind of avoid those stories just because like the whole damsel in distress or like the heroine being seen as like less than or believing she's less than, like I just don't really like that. I like the ladies to be like confident that I read about. So yeah, so it wasn't really my favorite. I gave it 3.5 stars. The cover though, absolutely stunning. Like this cover right here, stunning. This author in particular though has been very hit and miss for me. Most of the time, like her premises sound so good and then they don't always deliver perfectly for me, but like I keep coming back to them because of the premises and the covers. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. Next, I'm actually going to be starting Tryst 6 Venom from Penelope Douglas. I've had this book on my TBR since it came out, like just haven't gotten to it. I have read all of Penelope Douglas's books except for this one, obviously, and then the last book in the Devil's Night series. Those are the only two I still have on their backlist that I want to get to. So yeah, I wanted to get to this one just because I did buy the special edition recently that Eternal Embers was doing, which is stunning, and I will share the like little photo thing here. Absolutely gorgeous. I can't wait to have that on my shelves when it arrives. And so yeah, when I get special editions in or order them, it makes me like prioritize those books to get to. So I was like, ooh, need to get to this for the readathon. So this will meet the prompt for, it will meet contemporary romance as well, which I already have knocked off because of In a Jam. It's an audio. I already have that one knocked off as well. And then it will meet the prompt for LGBTQ plus rep, because I know it is a sapphic romance. It's a bully romance, new adult. I want to say they're like in high school, which isn't always my jam, but if I know about that ahead of time and like I'm in the mood for it, I can get behind it. So yeah, I'm excited to jump into that one, and I will check in tomorrow or when I have started Tryst 6 Venom. right, so it is Tuesday, March 7th. It's actually my mom's birthday today, so we are about to head out and go spend the day with her and hang out with my family all day. Did want to check in because I did finish Tryst 6 Venom earlier today, which I have the book over here on my shelves, but I'm just going to put the cover up because it is easier. Well, I ended up giving this one 4 stars. It was one of the last Penelope Douglas books I had to read. I have loved their books so much for years and have read all but that one and the last one in the Devil's Night series, Nightfall. I've been putting that one off forever too because I heard mixed reviews about it and I wasn't super into it when it came out. So yeah, those are now that's the only one I have to read. So anyways, so Tryst 6 Venom, it meets a couple of the prompts for the bingo board. So it meets a book for over 400 pages, contemporary romance, LGBTQ plus rep because it is a sapphic romance. It also meets a backlist book from a favorite author. So it meets a couple of prompts for the bingo board, which I will fill those in. But yeah, so I gave it 4 stars and I did really enjoy it. I really loved the chemistry between Clay and Liv in this one. It is a new adult high school set romance, which don't always work for me. I definitely have to be in the mood for those. But this one I did enjoy. They have so much in common, but they're very opposites as well. They come from different backgrounds. Clay is a very white privilege story, which she was a harder character to get into in the beginning. She did grow on me though. And then Liv's character comes from the wrong side of the tracks, so to speak, and has a lot of struggles with her family life and her brothers, which they're known as Tryst 6, which is kind of where the name for the title comes in, I guess. So anyways, they do have some things in common. They have family struggles and hurts from both sides of their families in the past. They are on the same lacrosse team at school. They go to this Catholic school in Florida, and their chemistry for each other is definitely there. They have a lot of passion between one another. When they are alone together, it's just sizzling and such a good time. Do you think in the middle though, this one did start to drag for me? I was more invested in the beginning, and since this is categorized as a bully romance, I did think it wasn't super strong on the bully aspect. As far as how some of other Penelope Douglas books have been in the past, some of those were stronger, or the bully parts lasted for longer. This one actually had some sweet moments in there, which I liked. I just really liked how both of these characters were super fleshed out. They had a lot of complexities to them, and it was just a good time. I did think it was a little long though, and in the middle, you definitely felt it. It felt like it was dragging on at times. So I feel like it could have been shorter, but I was still invested in their journey and the stories with these characters. And so yeah, I gave it 4 stars. It was a good time. So yeah, we're about to head out and go hang out with my family today. I did start another book this morning when I was on the treadmill, which was The Secret Life of Country Gentlemen, or something like that. The Secret Lives of Country Gentlemen by KJ Charles. This one is a historical romance. It's an romance, and then it also fits the prompt for a new release because it just came out actually today, and my Libby hold came in from the library, so I am listening to that one as well. And yeah, I won't check in again today because I said, we're about to leave and be gone from the house until the evening. But yeah, I will check in tomorrow when there are reading sprints on my channel tomorrow. All right, this will just be a super quick check-in because I'm about to get ready to hop on the reading sprints that are happening on my channel here in a bit. But I did finish The Secret Lives of Country Gentlemen by KJ Charles. This one is a historical romance. It met new release. It's also an romance and an audiobook. So this was only the second book that I have read from KJ Charles, which the other one I just read earlier this month as well, which was A Thief in the Night or something. That's the Audible novella. I tried that one out. Liked it. It was okay. I did think the plot was a little heavy in that one, where I was I just want more of the romance, which I actually felt the same way in this book as well. So I don't know if that's common for this author, because I said, this is only the second book of theirs I have read. There is the glare in my glasses from the window, so I'm trying to find a good spot here. Okay, we'll just try here. Which I'm just doing this handheld because I said, I'm about to hop on the live. So it's just going to be a super quick check-in. But yeah, so I did finish the Secret Lives one and I gave it 3 stars, I want to say. I don't know if this author's for me. I'm just kind of having issues with the pacing as far as the plot versus the romance. We do get a good romance in here, but I wanted more of it and less of the plot situation. I saw somebody else describe this as a cozy mystery, and that's kind of the vibes it gave to me. Just the 2 characters on this discovery mystery hunt together. And yeah, there's a lot of time of them working together, which I did like to see that teamwork and how well they got along. But I just wasn't invested in what they were trying to figure out. So that part of the story was kind of boring for me. And yeah, I think the first half of it, the setup was really great. Like we jump into it and the heroes are already in a relationship together, or kind of in this like no strings attached type setup where they don't even have each other's names. Like one of them, they just goes by Kent and the other one goes by London, kind of like where they are from. That's all they know each other as. And so as the story unfolds, like we learn their actual names later. But in the beginning, they already have this like setup. They meet up at like the taverns and things like that when they're both in town. And then at the very beginning, like one of the heroes is like, I'm having to go back home. Like, can we hook up again the next time I'm in town, like in a couple months? And then the hero Gareth, he's like, no, like I don't want to have this as like a, you know, the next time you're in town situation. Like I don't want to be having to wait on you. Like, no, thank you. Like we're over. So they kind of split, go separate ways, and they end up being in the same spot later on anyways, because Gareth, he finds out that his father passes away and he has to go back home to Kent where the other hero lives as well. And they see each other. There's like the opposites attract situation. They're on opposite social classes as well, because one of the heroes is a smuggler and then the other one is a recently became a baronet when his father passed away. So they kind of have that going on and are opposite sides of like the law, so to speak. So they have all of that. And yeah, like it was okay. And I'm just not sure this author's for me. Yeah, that's all I got. I gave it 3 stars. So I have to go hop on that live because I am actually running late, but I will tell you in the next clip what I have already started once I get like my laptop and everything set up. So yeah, check in later. To set up for the reading sprint on my channel. So I have my laptop set up over here. Then I have my Kindle, which I am reading. What am I reading? Daughter of No World right now by Tryst. So it's fantasy romance. I know it is a host rec as well because I know Jen loved this series. And I'm sure it meets like over 400 pages as well. So it meets like a couple of the prompts. I started it the other night. Wasn't sure if I was going to finish it during the readathon just because like ebook reads, like I've been prioritizing my audio reads for this just to like get through a lot. So yeah, but I'm really invested now. I'm like 20% in. So I'm super excited to read more during the sprints today on my channel. So I'm about to log on. So yeah, that's where I'm at today. Hello, it is Thursday. My hair is like totally doing its own thing today. I just took a shower, so it's all wet and just flopping all over the place. But anyways, so it is Thursday, March 9th. I'm about to hop on the reading sprints, which are going to be on Rachel's channel today. So I'm so excited to check in with her and see what she's been reading and loving and all of those things. I know Jen will be there as well. Not sure about Tiffany because she might be working. I did finish Daughter of No Worlds by Tryst. I was reading that last night as well as this morning. And I ended up giving this one 4 stars. I thought it was a super solid fantasy. There is like a romance in it, but I feel like that was very light. Like it's a very low steam, slow burn. It is there, but like that's not the main focus of the story, which I knew going in that the fantasy was going to be heavier than the romance part, which I didn't mind. I love a good fantasy. But yeah, I did think it was a super great start to the series. I'm very intrigued with like a lot of the characters. I love the main heroine and like her journey. She's been through a lot. And like basically she was taken as a child, her family was killed, and then she was taken as a slave and treated as obviously less than. She had to like perform and dance and use her magic to like impress people and like always like kind of put on this like performance or show for other like men and things like that. And she was definitely like raped and abused and all of those things, like had to do things she didn't want to do. So I definitely feel for her and her backstory. And I love that she has escaped, or not really escaped, like she was told a price for her freedom, that she could buy it back from her slaver. And over like 8 years, she earns the 1,000 pieces of gold that he said she could use to buy her freedom. And so at the beginning of the story, we see her going to him to pay for her freedom. Things unfold from there. Like it's definitely a fast-paced story. I really liked the author's writing, and I feel like you get invested like immediately and you're just like along for the journey with the character. So she ends up going to this other kingdom, this other like country place to deal with people who like handle magic. And so she wants to go back and save some enslaved people and of course take on the slavers. So she needs to be able to harness and wield her magic. So she gets picked up by these people, they rescue her, they save her, and then they like heal her. And so they pair her with this like reclusive, reluctant teacher, like mentor, who's going to train her and get her ready for her evaluation, who is the hero. And so it was super fun to see their dynamic. I love that like reclusive, reluctant teacher mentor setup going on. So yeah, I did really enjoy that. like I said, I love the characters in this. I'm very intrigued by the magic and the world and the lore, everything going on. But there was just a bunch of new character names being thrown at me. I wanted a little bit more of the overall world and like the war and what they're like building up to, kind of like fleshed out well, which like I know this is the first book in the series, so obviously it's going to do that as we go on, I'm assuming, you know, with the trilogy. So I'm invested. Like those are just my thoughts so far. So yeah, it was just a very solid 4 stars. Really enjoyed it. I'm like a strong heroine I'm always here for. So yeah, loved that. And I'm excited for the readathon today. So I do have to hop on because I am probably running out of time again. But I think I'm going to start The Black Lily by Juliet Cross. So I got this original cover from actually a used bookstore near me. Had it. And this one is actually signed from Juliet as well, which was super cool to find it there. So yeah, this is the old cover. I'll share the new cover here, which I kind of love both. Like love them both for different reasons. So I know these are paranormal, like vampire blood novel and all. This is a series. And I just recently learned from Daniela, who's also participating in the readathon. She was reading some of them, and so we were chatting, and I never like realized that these are also fairy tale retellings. So I am super intrigued now and can't wait to check it out as I pet this guy's abs. So that's what I'm going to read during the readathon, but I have to hop on because I'm sure Rachel and Jen are on there and waiting already. So I'll check in later. So I just hopped off the live show that we had on Rachel's channel, and we did like a 45-minute sprint. So I was able to get this much into the book. So I think about like 25%. I was doing the audio at the same time, which the whole series for this is on Hoopla for sure. So that's where I'm listening to it at. But yeah, so I was following along in the book as I went. And yeah, so far I'm really liking this. So this is paranormal, but also fairy tale retellings, which I love. So this one's actually Cinderella vibes. So basically this kingdom, they are ruled by vampires, and the prince is the hero, and the heroine is a human and like a servant, and she wants to have like an uprising to take over and end the vampires' reign because they have been reigning for like a couple centuries now. And so she wants to end that and end humans being like the blood concubines and things like that and being used up by the vampires. So she sets out to kind of like seduce the prince because his mom, like the Cinderella vibes. So the prince's mom wants him to marry and find a bride, or he's supposed to have like this arranged marriage situation, like on his 100th birthday is the tradition for his family, which is coming up for him. So instead he's like at this ball and he meets the heroine there. And so she's like dancing with him and they are spending time together, and he's kind of like falling for her. And so he drinks some blood from her and is like super into her. And then that's when she uses her chance to stab him. And so she stabs him with her knife to kill him because she's like there to assassinate him. And then she flees and she thinks she actually killed him. But then, you know, we realize that he's not dead. And then now him and his brothers are after to try to find her because he's like so intrigued by her and also like mad that she tried to kill him too. So yeah, so far I am really enjoying it and it is a fun time. I can't wait to read more of this. This is just like an entertaining, fun, like paranormal fairy tale retelling like vibe. And yeah, it's like a super short audio. So far it's a fun time. I've heard other ones in the series are like Snow White retellings and just like other fairy tale retellings, which I love fairy tale retellings. So I can't wait to read more of this. So I will check in later. All right, so it is Saturday and it's just gonna be like a very like self-care me day today on Saturday. It is sunny today. I am heading out of town. Well, out of my small town. I'm gonna head to the big city, so to speak, and go to some used bookstores. I haven't been to a few in a while, and just like have some me time, like just get out of the house and go do something. So I'll probably listen to some audiobooks on the way and like, yeah, just check out books, get some coffee, get some tacos, like just have a great me day. So yeah, those are my plans today. So I'm in the car filming. Hopefully this goes all right. So I did read and finish a couple books since the last time I have checked in. So let's see, yesterday was Friday. We had the reading sprints on Tiffany's channel, which was so much fun because all 4 of us hosts got to be there. So I did read When Earl Met His Match by Stacey Reed. Jen had read this one, loved it, hyped it up. And so then I know Rachel was gonna read it, and then I was like, I'm gonna read it too. And then I know Tiffany is reading it now as well. So it kind of became this thing where like that was our unofficial group book. So that was so much fun, because like being able to chat about it with friends who have recently read it or are in the middle of reading it. Like I've been getting voice memos from Tiffany today about it, and like just the gush over it, like love it so much. So basically this book is the 4th book in Stacey Reid's Wedded by Scandal series, which I have read this series a couple years back. Like I want to say like 2019, 2020 is when I first read this series. And I remember when I read the series, this was the 4th book, and it was just coming out like right after I binged the first 3. And so at the time I was like, I'm gonna take like a little break, I'll get back to it. That never happened. Years passed. Like I've read other Stacey Reid books since then. I love her books so much. She has such a massive backlist as well. Like I've read a lot of her books, and yet there's still so many more to read. So I did read that, and I ended up grabbing the audio from Hoopla, which it was available. Grabbed it, listened to it, loved it so much, gave it 5 stars. Like it is my favorite read of the readathon so far. And it was also my first 5-star read for the entire month of March, because it's been kind of like I've had good reads, but nothing like amazing. So I was so glad to finally have a 5-star read for the month. Basically in this book, the hero, he is the heir to an earldom, and his father is ill and like about to die. And so before he passes, he wants his son to marry. And so he's always told his son though, like, don't marry for love. Like your mom left me. I don't want that to happen to you. So like kind of put this like, don't ever marry for love type of situation on the hero. So the hero decides, you know, yeah, I'm not marrying for love. Like I'll just put this advert out in the newspaper, like looking for a bride. So he does that. And then the heroine is the one who sees the advertisement in the newspaper and reaches out to him and is like, you know, she gets like sassy with it. Like, how dare you? Like, who do you think you are? Like asking for a bride in the newspaper? Like who does that? And they start having this like pen pal relationship for a couple weeks, which was super fun. And so then the heroine at the same time, like in her real life, she is a duke's daughter, and she finds herself compromised, and she needs a marriage of convenience super fast. So her last letter to the hero, she writes to him and is like, hey, I want you to marry me. Like she proposes. So the hero gets a letter, and he's kind of shocked by it and kind of intrigued. And then at the same time, the heroine shows up at his house in Scotland, and she's like, hey, like I didn't even wait to get your response to the letter. Like that's how desperate I am for the security, for the protection. Like I think we can be friends. Like, can you marry me? And so she gets there, surprises him, and then she's surprised herself because she didn't know that the hero was mute. And so she finds that out, and they have this like communication barrier, obviously. I love this. It's just so sweepingly romantic. The swooniness of it, loved it so much. Like the hero has alpha tendencies, but like in the best possible way. And like I am trash for a hero who doesn't think he's capable or worthy or able to love. But of course, like he obviously is. And like the little things he does for her, like the quiet love moments, I could eat those up all day. Like I love it so much. Heroine on her side, she is very strong. She's just like honest with the hero, like straight up from the start. And so the reason she's compromised is she's actually pregnant with another man's baby, and that's why she needs this marriage of convenience. And she tells the hero that like right from the start. She's very honest with him, which I loved in this. Like there was no secrets between them, you know? Oh yeah, I just loved it. I loved how she wants to be able to communicate with him. So she learns sign language and can talk to him. They become friends first before even getting to, you know, the physical romantic side of the relationship, which I loved. I just like ate this book up. I loved it so much. It's so good. Definitely like a quieter romance, just like not a lot of plot, but sweepingly romantic. Like loved it. 5 stars. So good. All right, my coffee has been acquired, so let's do the little tasty taste. So good. This is my coffee for the day. So it is an iced white mocha. I always do light ice, half sweet, and then I add in a flavor. So today I added in vanilla. So good. So then I also had on my bingo board a novella, and I realized I didn't even put a novella on my TBR. So I was like, oh man, what am I gonna read? But then thankfully I remembered that I had some Libby holds out. So I checked that, and I had a novella from Shanora Williams. So it is My Professor, I think is what it's called. I'll put the little like picture thingy here. I've been reading a couple books from this author this month. So I checked out this one, which is My Professor. It's a novella. Like I mentioned, I had the audio from Libby. So it's super short, and it was just okay. Like I ended up giving it 3 stars. Like, it was one of those where it's just fine. Like, there was nothing spectacular or memorable or like nothing that like stood out to me. Like, it was just fine. So basically in this one, the heroine, it's like a student and professor romance, so there is like an age gap. In this one, the heroine is a college student and she is going to a coffee shop when she runs into, like, literally bumps into the hero there, and that's how they meet. They kind of like, you know, sparks fly, they hit it off, but they go their separate ways, and then she doesn't see him again until later on. She's going to her college class and he is her new professor, so, you know, scandalous. They quickly are infatuated with one another, and they find times to be around one another, like at the library, after hours together, hanging out. Realize they both like books. Like, the heroine is an avid book reader. The hero, I think he wants to like write a book. He's super into books as well, and he is just like obsessed with the fact that the heroine reads and like is into literature, so they connect over that. And yeah, things get physical super fast with them. Like, this is one where I actually wanted less steam. Like, yes, sometimes I want less steam in books, and this was the case with this one, where the steam was like overpowering the short novella. Like, I don't know, maybe it's supposed to be erotica, like, but I just wanted more from the characters, more of their connection, because otherwise, like, I don't care about the steamy parts if I don't care about the characters, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't believe in their connection, their chemistry. Like, I didn't really care about them as characters, so like the steam was just there. Like, I could have done without it, you know? So yeah, they do go on like some trips together, like for spring break. He invites her along for this like trip that he's gonna take. They have to like sneak around school when they're together. There's like some drama with other girls from her school, like finding out that they're together, and that causes some like drama and things like that. So yeah, it just wasn't it for me. Like, 3 stars. It was fine. Like, it fit the bingo prompt for novella, so my bingo board's complete, so that's exciting. Yeah, I'm still gonna obviously read books for the readathon. I still have tons on my TBR that I want to get to. I actually went rogue and read 4 books from my TBR so far, but then the other 4 were not on my TBR that I just like added in because, you know, it's what I do, mood reader. And like the rest that are on my TBR, like, I obviously still want to get to them. Like, they're on my TBR for the rest of the month as well. So even if I don't finish them this weekend, like, I'm gonna be getting to them soon. And yeah, it's just been a super fun readathon. Like, today's Saturday, and we've just been like tagged in so many posts. I love seeing everybody's excitement, what they're reading, what they're excited for, what they've been loving during the readathon. Like, it's just so much fun to participate in readathons. A great way to find a new book recs. Like, I love seeing people read books that I love and then being able to gush with them. Like, it's just so much fun. Yeah, like I mentioned, so today is Saturday. I am headed out right now, driving to go do some used book shopping. So I'm gonna like vlog some of it as I'm out and about, or like when I pick up books or something like that. But otherwise, it's just like a me day. Probably gonna start an audiobook, and yeah, we'll just see where the day takes me, and I will check in later. All right, so I did start the audiobook for There Are No Saints by Sophie Lark. So I have started that. I was in the mood for like a darker romance, and this series has been on my TBR for quite some time, like since they were coming out. So yeah, I was just in the mood to start it, and I did grab the audios recently when those released, which I just really love Sophie Lark's books on audio. So yeah, I'm so excited to get into that. So far we have met the hero and the heroine, and yeah, there's like the art scene. They're in San Francisco, so we will see where that goes. But I did run into the thrift store, so I just went into like Value Village. I love to check out their books there because like I love the thrill of like never knowing what you're gonna find at a bookstore. So yeah, that's what I did. So I grabbed a couple thrillers. So I got The Girls in the Garden by Lisa Jewell. I really love this cover for some reason. Her books are kind of like hit and miss for me, but they're entertaining enough. And my parents and I, we swap thrillers all the time, so I know they will want to check out this one as well. So I grabbed that. And then I also grabbed An Honest Lie by Taryn Fisher. So her thrillers are kind of a hot mess for me. They are very hit and miss as well. Mostly miss, but like again, entertaining. And I know my mom like loves her books though. So yeah, I haven't heard too much about this one. I think it's her newest one. So yeah, let me know if you've read it or not. I might check it out as well, because then my mom will, you know, want to chat about it with me. So I got this one. And the rest of these are romances. So this one is actually Forbidden by, I don't even know the author's name, Tabitha Suzama. I've heard mixed things about this one, but I'm intrigued enough. I think McKay from Oh Hey It's McKay and Nikki from Nikki and Bookland, I'm pretty sure they both love this book. I don't think it has an HEA, and I think it's complicated. I believe the characters are siblings, but I'm intrigued. Definitely don't judge books before I read them, so we will see what I think of it. I mean, I'm somebody who grew up reading V.C. Andrews, so like those were messy and toxic and dysfunctional, and families doing all sorts of things they shouldn't be doing. So that's where my reading journey began when I was about like 12. My mom and grandma were obsessed with V.C. Andrews, and they just like let me borrow and binge the series as well. So I have been binging the series since I was 12 years old. Read pretty much V.C. Andrews' like entire backlist, like I don't even know, 40 or 50 books like I read in a couple different summers that I would borrow from them. So yeah, anyways, I'm intrigued by this one enough. I haven't heard too much about it, but I've heard things, so we'll see. Then I grabbed A Scoundrel of Her Own by Stacey Reid. This is the third book in her Sinful Wallflower series, which is a series that's been picked up and is going to be made into movies or a TV series. I can't remember which, but it's being adapted. I love this book so much. I love Stacey Reid. I do already have this book, but I grabbed it because, I mean, I'm not going to pass it up at the thrift store when it's looking brand new, and I can pass it on to a friend, so I grabbed that. I also grabbed Untamed by Elizabeth Lowell. I have read this book and love it. It is medieval historical romance perfection. The drama, the step back, like yes please. I really enjoyed this book, and like I can't pass up a shiny metallic pink cover, so I grabbed this one. I do already have a copy of it, so we'll see if I pass it on to somebody or if it will replace my copy, because I think my copy is like more beat up and this one looks so shiny and beautiful. And then Lisa Kleypas. I can never pass up Lisa Kleypas, especially with a step back. This is Lady Sophia's Lover from the Bow Street Runners series. I have read this series, and I, again, can't pass up a good Lisa Kleypas when it's in, you know, beautiful condition, has the step back. Like, I'm sure I have it, but I'm sure somebody else needs it and will love it. This one I don't have, so this is a Kristen Hanna. Again, I'm obsessed with metallic. Like, I'm like a cat. Shiny things, like, will just grab my attention, and I can't stop. Like, I love it so much. So this one's called Home Again. This is one of her older ones, so with a step back, and look at the step back moment. Like, what is happening? There's like an operating table. This lady's giving me like Grease vibes. Like, I'm here for it and need to know what all these people are doing on this step back. And like, look how cute when she's on her like back cover. So yeah, I can't pass up a Kristen Hanna when she had step backs, so had to grab it. But yeah, I love picking up books that way. I like used bookstores. So stop one done, and we are on to the next stop. All right, hi, it is Sunday, so it's the last day of the readathon. I actually just hopped off the live show that we had to wrap it up and announce some winners and all of those things on Jen's channel. It was so fun participating in the readathon and seeing what everybody loved and read and picked up and like wanted to gush about during the readathon. Had such a fun time. I did start an ebook last night, which was Blame It on the Tequila, I think it's called, in the Blame It on Alcohol series from Fiona Cole. I had read the first book, I think like a year or so ago, and then I've been meaning to continue. And so I did jump into this one, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. I ended up giving it 4 stars. So I did like this one more than the first book, which was Blame It on the Champagne. It is a rock star romance, and it's also kind of second chance-ish. Like the hero and the heroine, they were step siblings in the past. Like their parents got married when the hero was 17 and the heroine was 16. They only stayed married for like a little bit, and the hero and the heroine like connected and they became best friends when all that happened, but they were both like equally pining on each other back in the day. They had like some little kissing moments, like we get to see all of that in the flashbacks. And then shortly after that, like after their parents got married, the hero and his friends, like bandmates, ended up getting picked up from a record label and going and being like rock stars. So they kind of left the heroine behind, and she had some feelings about that, and so definitely kind of cut him out of her life. So we jump to the actual part of the story, and it's been 5 years later, and they end up connecting back again. Like they're back in one another's lives. And so we get to see them kind of connecting and going through everything that they went through in the past and confronting all of that. And then also just connecting, because like they've always had this really strong bond and friendship and connection. So yeah, it was just a fun time. Like these are just so bingeable. Like they're really short and they're just like easy to fly through. Like I started it last night before bed, and then I finished it this morning, like while I was eating breakfast. Like it's just so quick and snappy, like really easy to get lost in. Yeah, I had a great time. Like both the hero and the heroine are pierced. Like there are some delicious fun times. The heroine is into exhibitionism. So yeah, it was a good time. I did have some issues with towards the end of the book, like 85-90% into the story, there's things that are brought up that happened in the past that was like traumatic and like a moment and a thing that I wish we would have got a little sooner, or like not at all, because I didn't like that kind of like drama and over the topness that it brought to the story. But besides all of that, I'll just like ignore that that happened and enjoy the story for what it was. So yeah, I ended up giving it 4 stars, and it was my 10th and final read for the readathon. Had a great readathon. Definitely going to get to all those books that are still on my TBR that I didn't get to, or that I, you know, swapped out for other books. And yeah, it was just a fun time, and it's always a great time to be a host of a readathon, get to see what everybody's reading, even to participate like in readathons. I love participating in readathons. Hopefully you enjoyed this video vlog of my entire week of reads. It was really fun to get through all 10 of these books. And yeah, thanks to everybody for participating. Thanks again to Jen for reaching out and asking me to be a co-host. I had such a fun time. Yeah, let me know if you participated in the readathon and maybe what you read, or if you've read any of the books that I read. Definitely let me know that as well. And if you do want to see more of my thoughts or my full reviews on any of the books in this vlog that I talked about, I do have my Goodreads reviews already posted, which of course you can get to my Goodreads from the description box here. I always have it linked. So yeah, if you haven't done so yet, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next one.